For this centering yoga practice, have a pair of blocks and a strap handy. Let's begin in child's pose. Maybe allowing the forehead to rest on a block. Could lengthen the arms out long, letting the hips sink back toward the heels. And as we breathe deeply in and out through the nose, we'll feel the back body expanding with each breath, and then exhale as we sink deeper and deeper into the mat beneath us. Let each breath bring more ease and comfort to the mind and to the body. Let's start to make our way up into all fours, hands and knees, pushing our blocks out of the way. We'll start to move the spine through cat and cow. Exhaling as we tuck and round, letting the head fall between the arms. And inhaling as we lift the heart and the gaze up toward the sky. Exhaling, drawing the belly button toward the spine. Inhale, letting the belly fill with air as it sinks down toward the floor. Exhale, tucking the tail between the legs. Inhale, pointing the tailbone high up to the sky behind us. Bending that back in both directions through flexion and extension. And after this last round of cat and cow, we'll find our way into neutral. Inhaling the right arm and left leg in opposite directions. Exhale, returning to center. Inhale to switch sides. Exhale, lowering down. Letting the thumb scrape the ceiling, the heel reaching back for the wall behind us. Inhaling and exhaling. Finding length rather than height in alternate spinal balance. And as we extend the right arm and left leg, let's exhale, elbow to knee, rounding the spine. Inhale, lengthen back out long. Just beginning to tune into those abdominal muscles as we contract and lengthen. Exhale to squeeze. Inhale to stretch into spinal balance. Exhale and inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, stretching in opposite directions. Let's come back down to all fours, sending the left arm and right leg back. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, contract, squeeze the abdominals. Inhale, bicep by the ear. Exhale, drawing it into center. Inhale, lengthening without losing our core stability. Flowing through this bird dog crunch, elbow to knee, and then returning to all fours, hands and knees. Sinking back into child's pose, maybe bringing the arms by the sides this time, with the backs of the hands resting on the mat. And as we lift up to kneeling, we'll sit back on the heels, reaching the arms up to the sky, and then swan diving forward again, forehead to the mat, backs of the hands on the mat. Inhale, lifting to tall kneeling, sweeping the arms up to the sky. Exhaling back, forehead to the mat, backs of the hands resting. Maybe this time as we lift, we'll send the hips up away from the heels. Exhale, sinking back down into child's pose. Inhale, lift to tall kneeling, pressing the hips forward. Exhale, sinking back down into child's pose. Sweeping the arms up to the sky as we press the hips forward. Exhale, hips to the heels, forehead to the mat, backs of the hands rest. One more time, inhale, lift and expand. Exhaling, lowering back down. And as we bring our arms out long. We'll come forward into a kneeling plank and exhale back into child's pose. Just moving forward and back with our breath. Exhale, hips to heels. Inhale, shoulders over wrists, kneeling plank. Feeling our strong core carrying us forward into plank and exhaling back into child's pose. The stronger our core, the less our arms work. And if we're adding or we'll lower down to the belly, reaching the arms out long in front of us. Let's lift alternate arm and leg off the mat, like we did for spinal balance, but this time face down on the mat. So drawing the belly up and away from the floor as we lift arm and opposite leg, keeping our neck neutral by hovering the forehead just above the mat, pressing our pubic bone into the ground, feeling the belly scooping away from the mat. As our leg lifts, we keep that hip bone pressing into the floor, really finding our center, finding our core stability, even as we work through the back body, extending. Let's let our back have a break as we double up our forearms, making a pillow, resting our forehead, bending our knees, and just windshield wiper those feet from right to left, relaxing and soothing the low back. As we return our legs to the mat, hip distance, we'll bring our hands to the mat by the bottom ribs, pressing the floor away into kneeling plank. And from here, we'll tuck toes, feeling that stretch in the bottoms of the feet, letting the upper arms wrap in toward the face. And then we can send the hips up high to the sky in downward facing dog. Maybe a heel pedal for this first one, lifting slowly up on the toes. Exhale, sinking one heel as the opposite knee bends. Repeating that on the opposite side. Just linking our movement to our breath. Coming forward into a high plank, and then sliding back into downward facing dog. Again, feeling our strong core carry us forward and back through these two movements. And we can modify by flowing again from kneeling plank to child's pose, just as we did previously. As we flow forward and back, we'll step our right foot forward between our hands, dropping the back knee. We can bring blocks in as we exhale back into half split, and then inhale forward again into a lunge. Exhale, half split, leaving the blocks where they're at, inhaling the arms up to the sky. Exhale back, half split, toes toward the ceiling. Inhale, kneeling lunge, reaching up to the sky. Exhale, rocking back. Inhale, lifting up. Exhaling, half split. Inhaling, arms up to the sky. Exhale, sinking back into that hamstring. Inhale, opening up the hip flexor. Walking our blocks forward again into our lunge. Push them out of the way, hands to mat. Lifting up onto the back toe, we'll find downward facing dog. Coming forward into high plank, from knees or toes, we'll lower all the way down to the mat. Bringing the elbows to the ground beneath the shoulders as we flatten the palms for Sphinx pose. A gentle yet active back bend. Let's let the head fall down a bit. Feel the heart pressing toward the shoulder blades. And then inhale, open back up to an even deeper Sphinx, heart radiating forward. We'll exhale as the head comes down, bringing the heart toward the shoulder blades, pulling the bottom ribs in. And then inhale, open up even deeper, looping the shoulders down and back. Again, letting the head fall on the out breath, heart towards the shoulder blades, lifting through the bottom ribs and through the low belly as we scoop under the pelvis, finding ourselves in a modified plank on our knees and elbows. Really feel those abdominals, feel the heat in the core muscles. Allow the breath continue to flow in and out. On an in-breath, we'll open back up into Sphinx, maybe pressing through our hands, lifting our elbows into Seal, and then lowering back down to elbows, and bringing the hands back by the bottom ribs, lifting into plank, into downward facing dog, stepping the left foot forward this time between the hands, dropping the back knee, finding our blocks. We can roll those shoulders down away from the ears, opening up through the heart, rocking back into half split, lengthening that front leg. Inhale, walking the blocks forward into lunge. Exhale, back into half split. Let's leave those blocks there and sweep the arms up to the sky on this lunge. And then exhale, back half split, toes toward the sky. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, nose toward that leg. Inhaling and exhaling, flowing with our breath, feeling our core muscles strong in the center, maintaining neutral spine through this flow. Inhaling to extend, keeping the ribs knitted in. Exhale, rocking back, keeping the back flat. Let's walk our hands forward into a lunge. Lifting up onto the back toe, we'll step forward into standing forward fold, shoulders away from ears. Feeling that weight even from the heels to the balls of the feet, softening the knees as much as we need to. Let's place a block between the knees or the thighs. Inhale, reverse swan dive, arms out, around and up. Closing at Tadasana mountain pose. Hands at heart center, perhaps setting an intention for our practice. Becoming more centered, finding our center. We'll circle sweep the arms out, around and up, where we'll clasp the left wrist and side bend over toward the right, or letting that right hand fall down toward the ground. Gentle squeeze to the block, tuck under of the tailbone. Sweeping our arms up to the sky, we'll side bend over to the second side, to the left. We can give a gentle pull on the wrist or let the left hand float down toward the ground. Let that block bring a little more awareness to the adductors and the core. Sweeping the arms up to the sky. This time as we flex over, we'll keep that bottom arm, that right arm, parallel to the ground. Maybe bringing a little more awareness to our obliques. We can look down, forward or up. As we sweep our arms up to the sky, to the second side, that left arm can float parallel to the ground, bringing a little bit more intensity. Keeping that heart spiraling open toward the sky. And the breath flowing. Inhale, sweeping up. Bringing our palms to heart center in Tadasana mountain pose. And on an in-breath, we'll circle sweep the arms out, around and up. Exhale, swan diving out over the legs. We'll remove our block and lift up halfway, hands to shins or thighs, flattening the back. Exhale, bowing deeply out over the legs, stepping the right foot way back into a lunge. Left leg meets it, downward facing dog. Inhaling forward, high plank. Exhale, lowering down to the mat, pointing the toes, lifting up into a gentle cobra, fingertips scraping the mat. We'll exhale back into downward facing dog, lifting our right leg to the sky, leading with our heel, keeping our hips level. Bringing that foot all the way through between the hands. Stepping through, standing forward fold, halfway lift, deeply bend into the legs. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around and up. Closing at Tadasana Mountain Pose. Inhale, circle sweep, lifting through the heart. Exhale, diving out over the legs. Lifting up halfway, flattening the back. As we bow forward, we'll step the left leg way back into a lunge. Right leg meets it, downward facing dog. Inhaling forward, high plank. From knees or toes, we'll lower halfway or all the way. Cobra or up dog, toes pointed, heart open. Rolling back into downward facing dog, where the left leg will lift. Heel leading as the hips level and square. Bringing that foot all the way through between the hands. Stepping forward, standing forward fold. Exhale, bowing deeply out over the legs. Reverse swan dive, taking up all of the space around you. Exhale, hands to heart center in Tadasana Mountain Pose. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, swan diving out over the legs. Lifting up halfway. And as we fold, we'll step the right leg way back into a lunge. Left leg meets it, downward facing dog. High plank on an in-breath. Exhale, chaturanga. Cobra or up dog. Exhale, rolling over the toes, downward facing dog. Lifting the right heel with level hips. Bringing that foot through between the hands. Step forward, halfway lift. Exhale, bowing out over the legs, shoulders away from ears. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around, and up. Closing at Tadasana Mountain Pose. Second side, inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, bowing deeply all the way down to the mat. Inhale, halfway lift, stretching those hamstrings, stepping the left leg way back first this time. Right leg meets it, downward facing dog. Flowing through a vinyasa with our breath. Feel the ease in the back bend, shoulders melting, heart open, neck long. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. The left heel lifts with level hips, stepping forward into lunge, and then into standing forward fold, halfway lift. Exhale, bowing deeply. Reverse swan dive, coming to Tadasana Mountain Pose. Just connecting with our breath and our intention for our practice. Feeling the heat after those sun salutations. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, swan diving out over the legs. Halfway lift. Perhaps we're jumping back into Chaturanga Dandasana, landing with bent elbows. Continuing our flow as we meet back in downward facing dog. Right heel lifts with level hips. As we step that foot through between the hands, we'll bring the back foot in a little closer, heel down on the mat, arms up to the sky in Warrior One. Letting those back toes angle out 45 degrees, front knee bends over the ankle. Shoulders melting down away from the ears, even as the fingertips reach up toward the sky. Let's sweep our hands behind the back, interlacing the fingers for chest expansion. Lifting through the heart, option to bow forward into humble warrior. Notice the tendency for the hips to swing to the right. Keep lining them up down the center of the mat. And whether we're folded or lifted, we'll squeeze those heels of the hands tightly together, protecting our elbows as we open up the chest and the shoulders. Let's inhale to rise back up. Can reach our arms up to the sky again in Warrior One. And then we'll exhale, open to Warrior Two, taking the feet wider apart on the mat, arms parallel to the ground. Fuzzy gaze out over those right front fingertips. Keep sending that knee over toward the pinky toe as we bend that front leg deeply, back leg straight and strong. Let's straighten that front leg, reach forward, reawaken those obliques. letting the bottom hand fall wherever it wants to go as we reach the left arm up to the sky in Trikonasana triangle pose. If we want to find those obliques even more, let the back of the hand just scrape the lower leg, feeling our strong core holding us up, lengthening the spine as we gaze down, forward, or up, whatever feels good on the neck today. As we bend our front knee, we'll come into extended side angle, maybe bringing a block under that bottom hand, top arm up to the sky or bicep by the ear. Finding that long line of energy from the back heel out of the fingertips, tricep pressing on the knee to increase that stretch through the adductors, the inner thighs. And then let's bring our hands down, pushing those blocks out of the way, framing the front foot, sliding back into downward facing dog, coming forward into a high plank. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, up dog, rolling over the toes, downward facing dog. Lifting up high on the toes, we can walk, step, or hop, feet toward the hands. Halfway lift, exhale, bowing deeply out over the legs. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around, and up. Exhale, hands to heart center, the front of our space, in mountain pose. Reconnecting with our breath and our intention, preparing for the second side. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, swan diving out over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift. Perhaps we're hopping back, landing with bent elbows, continuing to the easy back bend of our choice. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. The left heel will lift, maintaining those level hips, working on core stability. And then strong abdominals help us bring that foot all the way through between the hands. Back foot steps in a little closer. Let the toes turn out 45 degrees as we sweep the arms up to the sky, bending the front knee into Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Even as the fingertips reach up, the shoulders melt down the back. Feeling strong and stable in our legs. We'll reach our hands behind our back, maybe the opposite index finger on top for chest expansion. We can stay tall right here, or option to bow forward into humble warrior. Notice the tendency for the hips to drift over to the left. Keep lining them up down the center of the mat. Tight squeeze of the hands to help protect the elbows and get into the tightness in the front of the shoulders. Letting that torso melt deeper and deeper toward the inside of the front leg. Opening up the shoulders. Stay stable by lifting the arches, lifting the pelvic floor, lifting the belly button, creating that stability. Let's inhale, rise up to the sky, arms reaching up. And then exhale, open into Warrior Two. Taking a longer stance on the mat, bending the front knee. Hips and shoulders facing the long edge of the mat as the arms float to a T. Fuzzy gaze out over those left front fingertips. And as we straighten the front leg, we'll reach forward into Triangle Trikonasana, extending those arms. Maybe that bottom arm just hovers on the inside of the shin, feeling a little bit more activation through our glutes, through our obliques. We can gaze down, forward, or up, whatever feels good on the neck. And let's take that hand even lower to the mat or to a block as we bend the front knee, reaching top arm by the ear, coming into extended side angle. We can gaze down, forward, or up, whatever feels good on the neck. And let's sweep those hands down around the front foot, pushing the blocks out of the way, flowing through a vinyasa, rolling over the toes in downward facing dog. Lifting up high on the toes, bending the knees a lot. Walk, step, or silently hop feet between the hands. Halfway lift into a deep forward bend. Reverse swan dive, arms out, around, and up. Closing at Tadasana Mountain Pose. Let's step the left leg way back, facing the long edge of our mat. Toes angle out to the corners, arms reaching up to a 5-pointed star. And then exhale, a plie squat down, elbows into the sides of the waist. Exhale down, inhale, rising back up to 5-pointed star. Moon flow, opening up the hips, sending the knees back toward the pinky toes. Feeling the strong core, keeping our back neutral. Chest over the hips like we're sliding up and down on a wall right behind us. And then let's make our stance a little narrower, toes more forward. Exhaling into a squat, inhale, sweeping the arms up. Sunflowers as we make that circular motion through the arms. On this flow, the hips are more back, the shoulders come down a little bit lower, but the back is still neutral. Keeping the back flat rather than rounding, moving through our hips and strengthening our stabilizers in our core. Now let's return to that 5-pointed star, sink into our plie squat and hold, goddess pose. Sending the knees back toward the pinky toes, keeping those elbows drawn down and in, making a W with our arms. Strong breath, strong core. And as we inhale, we'll rise back up to 5-pointed star, turn the toes in towards each other, folding deeply out over the legs, grabbing the big toes with the first 2 fingers. As we gently pull, activating our biceps and our back muscles, we'll keep those shoulders away from the ears, crown of the head moving closer to the mat. All the while, there's a lift through the kneecaps, the pelvic floor, the belly button. All of those actions help us to fold deeper, and they protect the back and the hamstrings, so they're safe to release and to lengthen. We'll bring our hands to our hips, inhaling halfway up. Exhale, pause. Inhale, rising all the way up tall. And stepping back to the front of our space in Tadasana Mountain Pose. Let's bring blocks on either side of our feet really close. As we prepare for eagle, we'll reach our arms out to a T, giving ourselves a hug with the right arm underneath. Staying here or moving into Garudasana, eagle arms touching some part of the palms. We'll sink down into chair, Utkatasana. We could stay right here or float that right leg up and over like you're crossing your legs, letting your toes come to that awaiting block. You can also let the toes just balance and float, or wrap the toes behind the calf. In Garudasana, eagle pose, feel everything lining up down the center, knees and elbows. Let's inhale, unravel. Coming into Tadasana, mountain pose. Feel that firm foundation through our feet, feeling stable and grounded. And we'll reach our arms out to a T, giving ourselves a hug with the left arm underneath, staying there, or moving into Garudasana, eagle arms, touching some part of the palms together. We'll sink the hips, bending the knees, finding chair pose in the legs, Utkatasana, staying right there, bringing the left leg up and over, crossing the legs. Toes can rest on the block, they can float, or they can wrap behind the standing calf. Just keep sinking those hips back, finding that focal point, gaze fuzzy. And then inhale, unravel, uncross the legs, arms up to the sky, bringing palms to heart center in Tadasana, mountain pose. Let's get ready to move down to the mat. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, swan diving down, moving our blocks out of the way, stepping down into all fours, hands and knees. We'll grab our strap as we find a seat. Getting ready for Navasana boat pose, we'll loop the strap around the bottoms of the feet. Lifting our legs, finding our toes at about eye level. Really working on that neutral back, so lengthening the spine, shoulders down and back. Perhaps the legs lengthen out. Keep flexing through the feet, pressing out through the heels. Feeling our strong core holding us up in Navasana boat pose. Lengthening from the tailbone through the crown of the head, shoulders melting down and back. Let's release our boat pose, moving our strap out of the way. Crossing the legs, we'll plant the hands, springing back into plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Lowering all the way down to the belly. Let's hook our thumbs behind our back, pressing our toenails down into the mat as we lift the upper body into Shalabhasana locust pose. Continue to gaze down the tip of the nose at the floor just in front of the mat, maintaining length in the back of the neck, lifting through the heart, stretching open through the chest and the shoulders, alleviating tension in the upper back. As we lower down, hands by the bottom ribs, tucking under the toes, high plank, downward facing dog, feeling those upper arms wrap in toward the face. Feet hip distance, second toes pointed straight ahead, knitting in through the bottom ribs. And we'll lower our knees to the mat, bringing legs around front. Let's lower down slowly onto the back, knees bent, feet on the floor, arms by the sides, palms pressing into the ground. We'll keep our gaze looking up at the ceiling to protect the neck as we lift the hips. Coming into bridge pose, we'll interlace the fingers behind the back, really rocking those arms beneath us. Walking our left foot more into the midline, we'll extend the right leg up to the ceiling. Pointing the toes, try to touch the ceiling right above you, lifting those hips, lengthening that leg up to the sky. Breath flowing, feeling those muscles in the back body, the hips, the glutes working so hard. It's all part of our core. And as we bring that right leg down to the midline, we'll extend the left leg high up to the sky. Keep that bridge nice and high, pressing through the heel on the mat and then reaching the toes up to the sky. All the while, the breath is flowing with ease, in and out through the nose, staying in that parasympathetic nervous system. Let's bring both feet back down to the mat, hip distance and parallel, hands out from underneath of us as we roll down the spine, one vertebra at a time. Let's give our knees a squeeze into the chest. And then we'll start to rock on the spine from tail to shoulders. And get a little bit of momentum going so we can rock up to seated. Pressing the hips back so the legs lengthen out. Finding our strap again, looping it around the bottoms of the feet. And let's work again on that spine, shoulders down and back. As we move forward into Paschimottanasana, we'll feel the hips scooching back toward the back of the mat, the belly button getting closer to the thighs. Really notice that alignment and posture that we've been working on in the shoulders, in the neck, maintaining that as we tip forward from the hips. Notice that whatever we're reaching for, the shoulders are relaxed, the neck is long. Find the ease and the relaxation in Paschimottanasana, letting go of the struggle and the strain by being exactly where we are in the pose today. Allowing the mind to relax, allowing the body to progress at its own level and its own time. I'm just feeling all of the sensations present in this pose. As we inhale, we'll lift, tucking our left leg in. Let's hold on to our right leg into cradle the baby. We have the option to straighten the left leg back out on the mat or keep it bent like butterfly. And for cradle the baby, foot in one elbow crease, knee in the other. Maybe bringing in some movement, loosening up that hip. Rocking from side to side or forward to back. Or finding stillness as we breathe into the muscles in the right hip, helping them to release their grip, making sure our knee is safe. And let's place that right leg down on the floor like butterfly, scooping up the left leg. Option to straighten the bottom leg back out if we can maintain neutral spine. And we'll cradle the baby on this side, bringing the foot into one elbow crease, the knee into the other. Maybe some side to side rocking or forward and back. Just relaxing away any tension in the hip, making sure the knee is happy in this pose. All the while, tall spine, relaxed shoulders, and easy breath. Finding the ease in the pose. And as we release our legs, let's face the long edge of our mat as we tuck our left leg in like half butterfly, bringing our block on the inside of the straight leg. We can rest our right forearm on that block, left hand to the hip. If we don't want to use the block, we'll place the right forearm on the ground inside of that straight leg. And then reaching the left arm up to the sky. Really rotating the heart up toward the ceiling for a revolved head to knee pose. Top arm can reach overhead. If we're sinking down deeper, bottom hand grabs the foot with pinky finger on top. If we're sinking even deeper, left hand grabs the foot with pinky finger on top. Revolved head to knee, spinning the heart up toward the sky. Back of the head coming closer to the kneecap. Noticing the shoulders melting away from the ears. Breathing into that stretch on the left side body through the QL, the obliques, the armpit. Let's inhale, lift up out of this pose. We'll tuck our right leg on top into cow face leg. So stacking up the knees, tucking the feet in. Bringing the left elbow outside of that top knee, prayer hands to heart center as we gently press into a twist. Really stretching those muscles in our center, lengthening the spine, easing tension. We can really feel that as we breathe slow and deep, unfurrowing the brow, softening the jaw, allowing the body to just settle in. As we release this twist, we'll tuck our right leg in, left leg out long on the mat, still facing the long edge of our mat for a revolved head to knee on this side. We can place a block on the inside of the straight leg, so the left forearm will rest on that block, right hand to hip. Or if we're not using the block, place the left forearm on the ground. Use that arm to press into the leg to spin the heart open. Right arm straight up to the sky, or begin reaching over into lateral flexion. If the bottom hand wants to catch the foot, it's pinky finger on top. If the top hand catches the foot, it's also pinky finger on top. Revolving open, working the back of the head closer to the knee in Parivrtta Janusirsasana, revolved head to knee pose. Enjoying that stretch through those muscles in the side body, the QL, the obliques, the lats behind the armpits. Releasing tension in the back. Breathing into the right ribs, feeling the breath stretching those intercostal muscles. Let's inhale, sweep up, tucking the left leg on top, stacking the knees in cow face legs. And then bringing the right elbow outside of the knee, prayer hands at heart center, pressing into the palms to revolve open, enjoying that stretch to the hip, to the back. Just letting everything continue to slow way down as we sink into these deep, longer held stretches. Allowing the mind and the body to prepare for even deeper states of relaxation. And as we unravel, uncrossing our legs, we'll carefully roll down onto the back, preparing for our last and most important pose of Shavasana, final relaxation. Just letting the legs stretch out long, toes falling effortlessly out to the corners. As we release our arms by our sides, we'll slide the arms far enough away that our chest and shoulders roll open, palms facing up, ready to receive. Let's close our eyes. And now the breath becomes soft, shallow, and quiet. Coming into this receptive state, allowing all of the benefits of our practice today to sink in to every cell in our body. And as you begin to bring yourself back into this space, invite some movement into the body by wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, lengthening out the legs, reaching the arms back overhead, taking a full body stretch like you're waking up first thing in the morning, and then roll to one side, knees bent, arm resting, head resting in the arm like a pillow. And then keeping the eyes closed, slowly press yourself up into a comfortable seated position, crossing the legs out in front, stacking the spine tall, joining the palms in Anjali Mudra at the Anahata Chakra, the heart center. Bow your head, look inside of yourself. Take a moment to thank yourself for taking care of your health and your well-being with this practice today. And I thank you so much for allowing me to share this practice with you. Namaste. And if you liked this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe. Have a great day.